I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Do more with less. The power of business transformation. That's the theme of today's episode of the Business Renovator. But before I jump into that and bring on my esteemed guest, a couple of things I'd like to do. Thank you, first of all, for being here live and in person. If you're catching this on the replay, remember #replay. Let us know where you're watching in from. And if you've got a question or a comment for us, certainly let us know. And we'll do our darndest to answer that and address that for you. In addition to that, we have a YouTube channel, which is where this is being pushed out to. And we would really appreciate you subscribing to this. And if you like what this is about in the Business Renovator, hey, would you mind sharing it with others? That would be fantastic as well. I think that's all of the administrativeness I need to do. So now here's a plug, a shameless plug for what I do. So you could get your complimentary business growth score assessment by going to coachphil.ca. Top right-hand corner of the homepage is another button, a link. Click on it, fill it in, answer the questions. And if you want to do it on your own and not be hassled, that's not a problem. However, if you would like to go through it with somebody like myself or my esteemed guest, because he's also one of us at the Focal Point community. If it's something, if there's a question or something or an area of expertise that I'm not familiar with, maybe Steve could help you out, or one of the many other wonderful coaches around the globe. So it's no credit card, it's free, and it's just to check in with yourself. And you might do the assessment and find that everything's going as planned. Wonderful. That's totally okay. So let's get on with today's show, which is really all about how to do more with less and helping you transform your business. We have a common individual that's graced graced us over our own experience, and we're probably going to talk a little bit about him along the way. But before I do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about my guest. I mentioned that he is a Focal Point coach. He's an expert in the human resources arena. He's been there he had 25 years experience. He's also 11 years in the military, specifically the U.S. Navy. And he's a big fan of the 80-20 rule for operating and doing things and getting more stuff done. I'm thinking that's probably a common theme to his do more with less. So doing 20% of the activities to get 80% of return on your money, time, and energy. So I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm just going to bring him up. And if he would like to add something that I've missed, he can certainly do that. So let's welcome, there he is, Steve Kopecky.
Hello. How are you doing, Coach Phil?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a great day here. I'm in Wisconsin, and it's getting ready for winter. But yeah, it's a good day.
It is a good day. We just finished summer. We had unseasonably warm weather. We were in I'm trying to do the math, about 75 up until today. Now we're not anywhere near that. I don't know what it is, but it's chilly and the furnace is on.
Yeah, I think we had that day sometime in July. So that was good. Yeah, that one day. So,
but, hey, we've got somebody who's popped in here. I just want to say hello, whoever you are, Facebook user. One of the things StreamYard needs is permission to use their name. And if they don't grant it, I don't know exactly where that is, but hey, brother, I'm not sure which one of my brethren that is, but thank you for being here. Appreciate it. I'm excited you're here. I know we didn't really meet face to face until this year in April in New Orleans, where we heard some terrific things with the people that we hang out with, doing some great presentations, and we had some really good food at that restaurant. I think it was our last night, wasn't it?
Right. Some good New Orleans cuisine. So that was a really good conversation too. And
Yeah,
it was my surprise that we both were very familiar with a gentleman in our past who's no longer with us, unfortunately, but Lou Tice.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think you said you have read this book.
I've read parts of it. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of like you kind of pick it up anytime you need to, and yeah, it's kind of that type of book, not necessarily front to back from my perspective. But.
Yeah, I've read it front to back once, and then I dabbled into it and wrote notes and put post-it notes in it. Another one that I have is I'm like we're doing a commercial for Lou. Is this one? The cover's not on it, but it was Smart Talk. It's a modern day version of the other one that's a bit more. Actually, and I'll tell you a story about this. I actually had a chance to meet him. A Better World, a Better You, and this is based on his investment in excellence for the '90s program.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to go and meet him. Actually, not just me. There's a whole bunch of us, probably, I don't know, 400 or 500 people from around the world. And they had translators. You were teasing me about what were you teasing me about? My intro song, was it in different languages? Well, they had translators for this event where he was at. So it was a Lou live event. And something that's been really good for me is he taught us if you know what you want and why you want it and stifle how, you can achieve more in your life than any other way. And that's how he lived his life, going from a high school football coach of $1,000 a month to an amazing influencer around the globe, helping stop wars, helping transition from communism to capitalism to a whole bunch of other things. I could go on and on. I'm such a fan of his.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it fits into today as well, in business transformation and change, and what Lou provided to me, some simple tools. And like you said, he started out with athletics and coaching teams, and at a very high level as well. He started out in high school, but he finished with some people like Pete Carroll that we're all familiar with the NFL. Right. Gentleman from Alabama as well, the head coach there. Names and
I forget his name, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So what he taught was very simple too for me to understand, which is important, and it kind of fits into transformation. We need to keep things simple, and he had a simple formula that I would bring back a couple of times to us today, possibly, and it's I times V equals R, and it's really a cognitive sort of a model that we see in all of our change management at some point. I means that you have to, you really have to have imagine something for the future. And when we think about the curve that we're in with an organization, we call it in coaching the sigmoid curve. But at times, we get a little bit caught up in our processes and day-to-day activity inside the business, and we have to be able to reserve a little bit of time to imagine what the future could be. And that's what he brought out with that. And yet you have to write it down and make it more vivid so you can actually grab it. And that's what the V stands for. And if you do those two things, of course, there's a lot of heavy lifting in between to develop yourself and such. But from what I got out of it, it becomes a reality, and that's what R is. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Phil, but I really enjoy that model.
Yeah, I agree with you too, because you didn't tell me to put that in. It's in my consciousness already, and I put it in as a standard banner that goes at the bottom. There it is again, because it is that thing. It's imagination times vividness equals our reality, and everything starts first with a thought. Earl Nightingale, in his wisdom, wrote The Strangest Secret, and the strangest secret is we become what we think about most of the time, and it all starts with a thought. I don't have a diagram of the other thing I learned from Lou was we think in 3 dimensions. That's first a thought, an image, and emotions. And it may be foggy or not very clear. It might just be an idea. I mean, we really got a lot of, there's not a lot of pixels in it yet, so to
Right.
speak. Right? And as we
Interesting.
think about it, the emotions start, the image becomes clear, and then the emotions become stronger. It's a life force energy. And he talks about that in his teachings and in his coaching. There's some large psychological phraseology for it, but what I liked about him was he took all that psychological language and put it into, he dumbed it down for me, well, not personally for me, but for a lot of us, so that we can apply it, assimilate it, and make it do its magic.
You're right.
So,
You're right. And connecting it directly to transformation, for me, the first time even before Lou, that I had an experience with a presenter, who's a system scientist. And if you can imagine Coach Phil with a beard, this is kind of what he reminded me. And maybe he was a little bit taller. I don't know, but he was very seasoned in what he did, and experienced, and he had the title of system scientist, and I was very interested in that. What is that all about? And this was at Kohler Company, if you know that brand. Um, and he talked about systems and processes and sort of the curve of growth, and that in order for, sometimes we get caught up in that as business leaders, we get so focused on the day-to-day processes of executing that we don't stick our neck out enough. And it's not safe. It's not easy to stick our neck out either, because we're not used to it, or because you might, get feedback that's, you're doing something that's contrary to what we do here. So it's important for a person to be able to stick their neck out, give a little bit of a time, especially if you're a business leader, to think about the future. And that fits right in with I times V equals R, in my opinion.
yeah, it's interesting you talk about how we hold ourselves back. And again, going back to what I've learned from Lou and for other people, but he talks about isness. I put quotes on a new word, isness. And that's how we see ourselves, right? We act not in accordance to the way the reality is, but how we perceive it to be. So that's what he refers to as our isness. Others will call it self-concept, self-image. It really doesn't matter what the label is, but we've got this thing called the creative subconscious mind that apparently his job is to maintain sanity for us. Whether we could be an alcoholic, we could be in a emotionally negative relationship, and we stay there because that's who we see ourselves as until we change the picture of where we'd like to get to. Is it easy? No, it takes effort, but there are some things that he taught us that helps the process be a little simpler.
Absolutely. I think that standards help us. They do two things, right? They help us stay with where we are at, with a standard. I say that, okay, I'm meeting the standard, so I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And performance appraisals and things can do that. But also having feedback from people on how I'm performing against the standard. And just being on your show here today gives me feedback. It says, this is terrific what you're doing, and it's something that I should be doing in my business. And these are things that redefine my boundaries, if you will, and say to me, I need to take another shot at where I'm trying to get to, and this might be one of those tools of me to get there. So that I think is what fits in with the I times V, and imagining the future. I got to be willing to do that, and making it vivid, write it down, put some objectives in place, and ultimately it becomes a reality. Again, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be a lot of people around me that might give me some feedback that, that might not be the right. Maybe they're not engaged. They don't understand what I'm trying to accomplish. Might need to work with them a little bit. And Lou talked about that as well. He said, make sure that you surround yourself with people that are going to give you the right kind of feedback, credibility in your mentors that are going to give you the right kind of feedback that says, what, anything's possible. You want to do it. But you got to have that vision first. And everything we do as coaches, I think, starts there, especially when we have a leader or a business owner that's running out of energy or frustrated or can't seem to get things moving. it starts with, well, what is their vision? What are they trying to really accomplish? What does that big vision look like? Whether it's a breakthrough and doing things completely different to get to where you want to get to, or it's incremental, but they have to have a vision that they engage people and assess people along the way. Are you on board or not? And if you're not on board, can I help you get there? If not, then I kind of need to make sure that you don't interfere with where I'm trying to get to.
So that ties into the theme for sure. Absolutely. The do more with less. I'm going to ask you a question. In your experience of being in a leadership role, whether it be in your coaching role now or in your previous life, where my question just vaporized.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
it's around what you're talking about. Did you find that people you were leading or coaching were afraid to let go of things, or they were taking on a lot of things? Like, I'm going back to the title, Do More with Less, and they were trying to do everything?
yeah, yeah. Usually, it could be on the playground. Let's just take it something that we all can realize and relate to probably. Kids playing baseball, you know, and where they're walking up to the plate, and what their thought process is all about is there's a lot of pressure on them, and they're not thinking about what they need to be thinking about. They're thinking about all the things that can prevent them from being successful. So I think anytime a leader sets an objective, and especially if it's what is referred to as a BHAG, or a big objective, one that's way out there, that is very different than where we're at right now. There's a lot of issues around change management and people's ability to understand and be able to execute in a new environment. So it's a leader's job to define the change readiness of the organization and the individuals, and what can be done to accelerate their ability to execute in that environment.
What that reminds me of is something else I learned, and I do apply to my life pretty much daily, and that is breeding spirit into the minds of the people we support, right? So making sure that we understand what the definition of a word is, like spirit. What is that? Inspire. What is that all about? And I learned that from him. And if you can get people to aspire to be more than what they are, empowering them, elevating their ability to get stuff done. As the theme song, it's a different word, but here I'm not going to repeat it. You just hear it in the intro and the outro. But it's all about making picking targets that you want to go after versus have to go after, and creating a way to get there. I believe it was when pre-show we were talking about if we know what we want and why we want it and stifle the how. That's a pretty good model to go after. I've applied it in my own life. Sometimes not as consistently as what I'd I'd like to have in the past, but I'm not going to beat myself up. But when I've done it and applied it and utilized that simple philosophy, life is a lot easier. And I look for possibilities versus reasons why I can't. I look for reasons why I can.
Right. Again, objectives in an organization should be tied along that line. That there's the I want to, or we want to, or we need to. That's more of a scarcity sort of a mindset, that there's only so much.
Right.
It's more of a I am, or we are. And when you set up objectives, as simple as that sounds, you have a better chance to move individuals, yourself, I mean, along the continuum to get to where you're trying to get to. So I would say, if we had to summarize what we've talked about so far, I mean, I would say that it's important to have an objective, to transform an organization. What are you trying to accomplish? And make sure that that's clear. As it relates to simplification, in my opinion, Coach Phil, I think data helps us understand, is that a good goal? Does it make sense? Because I think you can set up a big goal, an objective, and it just doesn't make sense. And so the more I can look at, if I'm running a business, I can look at the market, and I can identify who the most important customers are, what the market potential is, and set my objective up around that, include what I'm capable today of doing or could be capable of doing in a short amount of time, and my objectives align with that, then I think that that's the beginning of transformation as well as simplification. The reason I say that, Phil, is I've seen an organization. I've seen an organization go from it was a big company and scale up. And it was a $19 billion company. And guess what? I mean, by the time they were done with the scale up, as they looked at their market, they looked at their customer, and they looked at what they're capable of doing and set up their objectives, they were a $14 billion company. Now, how do you go from a 19 to a 14 and say that's good? Well, they were making $2.5 billion a year in profit at the beginning. At the end, they were making more. They were making 3.5. So that's doing more with less. And they cleaned up their organization. They simplified their lives on a day-to-day basis, and they used data in order to make that happen.
Yeah, and that's not just applicable to that size of an organization, is it?
No, this was actually a company that had 900 P&Ls. So they were small businesses, all small businesses. And what they needed to do was clean it up a little bit because it got too complex to manage, So they set up objectives around key stakeholders. Stakeholders were, shareholders and such. And they said, this is how we're going to meet their needs, our customers' needs. And that was the beginning of their transformation, having that objective.
Oh, sorry about that. Do you think like a couple $1 million business could follow the same kind of advice that you just suggested?
Absolutely. I was talking to a dry cleaner, I don't know, about a month ago, and he's got 5 shops. And he was talking to me about, supply chain issues. Who would think that, a dry cleaner would, but he said, next time, Steve, you come in to get get your clothes, they're not going to be on hangers. And I said, well, I'm not doing a lot of traveling right now, so I kind of like them on hangers. Long story short, he started to explain how complex his business is, and hangers being in a cargo vessel off the coast of California, that he had to figure out how to redirect to Mexico to get a truck to bring them up here. I mean, these are the things that he's going to have to purchase a hanger making machine.
Wow.
He wanted to ask me, do I need to? Was I interested in investing in a hanger? No, I'm a coach. I'm not interested in investing in a hanger machine. But long story short, yeah, absolutely. Complexity is in every one of our daily lives, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's one of the things that's constant in life is change.
Absolutely. Think of my son, who is a gardener, and he thought we were going to have a lot of pumpkins this year because he put in a lot of seeds in a small amount of area. We had a lot of vines and a lot of flowers, and we had 5 pumpkins that were about this big. So it's absolutely, yeah. They're kind of nice, yeah. But we have to be able to make some room in order for things to grow and simplify. And one vine would have provided much larger pumpkins, much more focus for us as we gardened. And so it's important to weed the garden, I think, as an individual leader and business owner at times, as an individual on a day-to-day basis, and look at our offices, and our offices, are they organized? Are they out of control? These things detract us from our day-to-day priorities. And we already have many, many other things that can do that.
Yeah, I like that. Simplification.
Right.
I'm looking at your bio here, and I just wanted to point out that one of the 3 hot buttons for you is helping people with learning and change, working across boundaries and sharing ideas and insights, informing or improving productive work groups and teams. That's one of the reasons why, or a few of the reasons why people engage with you, right? I can hear it with your language and your confidence and your passion about what you're talking about with me and sharing today, and I appreciate that in
Thanks,
you.
Coach Phil. Thanks.
And like
Yeah.
we didn't really get a lot of time to talk in New Orleans, but and we're not close to each other geographically. But this has been very insightful. It's not that we're quite over yet, but it's been very insightful. Now you want to go ahead?
I was just, you're referring to people developing along the journey, and for me, that's a great opportunity for a business owner or leader, entrepreneur to engage their workers or the people that are part of their organization, even their customer, as they're trying to develop where they want to go, the objective of the transformation. Engaging people early is critical, and that's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You kind of have your baby and you develop this thing, and if you're even reserving some time to do that, to step away from the business a little bit and think about where you're trying to take it, engaging people along that way is critical, because that's the beginning of their involvement and their learning as well. And in today's world, we have such a loss of talent. People just saying, I'm looking for something else, and they really don't have a good reason why, except when you start talking to them, it might have to do with their development. So engaging them in the process of transformation is a great opportunity for an entrepreneur to attract and retain good people.
You're just stirring up a whole bunch of really great thoughts in my head. Think about Richard Branson. He says to invest in your people. They're your best customer. Without them, you really don't have a business. Some people have said to him, apparently, well, what if I invest in them and train them and they leave? But what if you don't and they stay? Right. So if you empower people and make it as a place where where they feel important, they get to express themselves, they tend to stay because they like where they're at. People don't leave a business as much as or a company as much as they divorce themselves from their leadership, the managers. And companies that invest in their people are investing in their future. And as I research and study it, whether it be Lou Teicisms or others like Bob Chapman with his company, where he took it from just wanting to survive in the downturn in, was that 7? So long ago, 8, somewhere in around there. They didn't survive. They actually thrived where they thought they were not going to do that. And it was about dealing with the thing that he said that stuck out to me was he was a father, well, still is a father, and he was an accountant, I believe, by education, and he was running the business on metrics, financial metrics, and he had an epiphany at home. He says, if I ran my family the way I run my business, I'd be out of family. And he thought about, whoa, if I run my business like I run my family, what could we do? So that's what he did. I'm simplifying what he did, but he built a culture where people were appreciated and they were empowered and they were given the opportunity to contribute to the creative processes and solutions to overcome what they were facing with market conditions, etc. And safety was better, products were better. You were talking about the office is clean. Things were clean. People cleaned it up as if it was their own home. They were happy at home. They're happy at work. That's one of the things I attempt to do with my clients, is to make sure that they're not only happy at work, they're happy at home. It has that kind of an impact. I read or heard a podcast or an article, and there was a mistress in the relationship. And the wife was really distressed about having this mistress in her life. And the mistress was not the mistress that you probably would think. The mistress was the business. The business was taking her husband's time, energy, and focus away. He was working so hard on the business that he wasn't sharing it with her and the family. And she felt like it was a mistress. So after working with a coach, sorting it out, the business is doing great. And apparently the relationship is as well.
I think that's a really good point, Coach Phil. I think that having balance and defining what that means up front for not only the entrepreneur but their team is important. And I think the tools that we bring as focal point coaches really emphasizes the importance of everything we're talking about here for sure, but certainly setting an objective and making sure that you engage people along the way, but also taking into account each individual, and each individual is different and they have different needs, and with our different types of assessments that we give, and that they have different desires, and also different styles and personalities, and a leader has to take that into account as they're moving forward. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting how Lou would bring it back to affirmations.
Mhm.
And for me, at times when things get a little bit hairy and out of control, I go back to my affirmations. Now, that's probably not the way that Lou wanted us to. He wanted us to manage those on a daily basis. And but for me, I go back and I say, I look at what was important to me as it relates to my relationship with my wife, with my relationship with my kids. And this is what I said last time I looked at these. And how am I doing? Oh boy, I got some gaps. And I better fix those pretty quickly, because I want to make sure I have those. Those are important relationships for me. There's the financial affirmation. So
Mhm.
affirming is really just putting your fist down and saying, this is what it is in the future, in today's words, and so relationship with my friends and my family, my extended family, as well as my financial situation, or our family financial situation. What are my objectives there? And what did I set out to? So a person should have those. If they don't, it's very difficult, as Wayne Gretzky, Canadian, used to say. It's hard to take a shot if you don't know what the goal is or where the goal is, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
affirmations are an important part of that.
That's a pretty good segue to wrap up. I do want to share this website of yours as soon as I can get it to come up. There it is.
All right, excellent.
And there's the URL. It's a really long one, but it's right there, easy to capture and plunk it in. And again, at the beginning of the show, I did have a plug in there, a shameless plug for a complimentary business growth strategy score assessment. You can do that here with Steve as well. Go to his website, and on the top right-hand corner of his homepage is the same link. And I'm sure he'd be happy to help you out with that.
All right.
Oh, look at that. Here's my friend and a former coach of mine, Jackie. She's an interesting woman. She has been a guest on the show too. And I don't know if she knows it. She is the second edition of the now podcast that's happening on Spotify and on Apple. There's another shameless plug. Thanks for being here, Jackie. You're amazing.
That's awesome. I agree with what she has to say. You're amazing as well, Coach Phil.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for having this.
Hey, thanks for being here and showing up and helping me have a show and help people understand a little bit about what's possible out there and what are some of the things that might get in the way. I'm going to wrap this up. This has been terrific. Maybe we'll find a time in your schedule and we can pop on and have a different topic to share with the audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just remember, put it in there, Coach Phil. Take this away, if nothing else. I times V equals R. You can use it everywhere. You can use it everywhere.
Let me go put that in here. Just got to roll up to the top. There it is.
You can use it in business. You can use it for yourself. Imagine, make it vivid, and it becomes a reality. You got to do that as a first step. You can use it to coach your kids. It's a great tool.
Yeah, and it's so simple. So simple. But it's only... you got to apply it. Unapplied knowledge is a waste of time, right?
Right.
On that,
but you can always go back to it, Coach Phil. That's the thing that Lou would always say too. The next time, if things don't, if you forget about affirmations, or if you forget about what you're trying to accomplish, don't be so tough on yourself.
That's true.
The next time, you would say, and just remember that as well.
Exactly. Again, thanks for being here. That's a wrap for us. I'll just wind this down for our audience. Well, there's a lot of stuff we covered there. I times V equals R. wasn't added as a thought by him. I'm glad he brought it up, but it's something that I do follow as well. I times V equals R. It's a powerful sort of thing. And what I want to do is remind you of another thing that's powerful, and that's you. The you in wonderful represents you. You're unique and you are wonderful. So continue acting like yourself, but don't stay like that. Continue to grow and move to where you would like to get to, because we're either moving towards and growing, or we're dying, metaphorically, staying in our comfort zone. But that would be another topic for another day. So until next time, I'm Coach Phil, and that's a wrap.
I get shit done. I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.